So picture this. You're sitting in a dealership, and it smells exactly like every dealership you've ever been in, that specific mix of carpet cleaner and new plastic. And the salesperson slides a little piece of paper across the desk toward you. And on that paper is a number. Not the price of the car, just a monthly payment. Something like $487 a month. And honestly, that doesn't sound that bad. You make decent money. You can handle $487. So you nod, you sign a bunch of things, and you drive home in a shiny new vehicle feeling pretty good about yourself. And that feeling lasts, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, until you're staring at your bank account on a random Tuesday night wondering why, despite the fact that you have a decent job and you're not doing anything crazy, you just can't seem to get ahead. The money goes in, the money goes out, and this vague, low-level financial anxiety just stays. Here's the thing. My name is Jordan, and I've spent a genuinely embarrassing amount of time thinking about money. Not in a Wall Street, spreadsheet-obsessed way, but more like I got really obsessed with understanding why smart, hard-working people keep making the same financial decisions that slowly drain their futures, and why nobody in their life ever sat them down and explained what was actually happening. I think about the psychology of it, the math of it, and mostly the way that society has built these very elegant, very invisible traps that most people walk straight into with a smile on their face. And the car payment? It might be the most elegant trap of all. By the end of this, I want you to genuinely rethink the way you look at car ownership, monthly payments, and what I'd call the affordability illusion, because what you're about to hear might completely reframe a decision you've already made, or one you're about to make. And either way, I think it'll be worth the next 15 minutes of your life. Let's start at the beginning, because I think it's important to understand how we got here. At some point, and this is genuinely one of the sneakiest shifts in consumer culture, someone in the car industry figured out that people don't actually think about the price of a car. They think about whether they can manage the monthly payment. And once that realization hit, everything changed. Because here's the thing about monthly payments. They're psychologically designed to make large amounts of money feel small. $40,000 is a scary number. Most people hear $40,000 and their stomach drops a little. But $580 a month? That feels manageable. That feels like a gym membership or a cable bill or something you can just sort of absorb into your life. And that's exactly the point. What dealerships and financing companies and banks figured out is that if you stretch the loan long enough and focus the entire conversation on that monthly number, you can get people to agree to almost anything. You can sell someone a $55,000 truck on a teacher's salary and have them walking out the door feeling like they made a responsible decision because they were focused on the wrong number the whole time. I remember reading about a study once where researchers looked at how people evaluated car purchases, and they found that most buyers could tell you their monthly payment to the dollar, but couldn't tell you their interest rate, the total loan amount, or how much they'd pay in interest over the life of the loan. They'd made a $40,000 financial decision and only tracked one variable. That's not stupidity. That's manipulation. That's a system designed to obscure the full picture. So the next time you're in a dealership and the conversation shifts to what monthly payment are you comfortable with, recognize that moment for what it is. They're not trying to help you budget. They're trying to find the number that gets you to sign. Let's say you buy a car for $35,000. You put nothing down, which, by the way, is increasingly common. And you finance it over 72 months, which is 6 years, at an interest rate of around 7%, which is honestly pretty reasonable by today's standards. Your monthly payment comes out to roughly $533. Fine. Over the 6 years, you'll pay about $38,400 in principal plus approximately $3,400 in interest. So the car costs you around $38,400 all told. Not catastrophic, but already more than the sticker price. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's the part nobody tells you in the dealership. The average American keeps a car payment in their life for most of their adult life. They don't pay off the car and then drive it for 5 more years saving money. They pay off the car, or get close to paying it off, and then they trade it in for a new one. Or they roll the remaining balance into a new loan, which is called being upside down on a car, and it's more common than you'd think. So let's say someone has a car payment, on average, from age 25 to age 65. That's 40 years. At $533 a month, that's $6,396 a year. Over 40 years, that's $255,840 spent on car payments. Just gone, into a depreciating asset. But the real gut punch, and I want you to actually feel this one, is what that money could have been. If you had invested that same $533 a month from age 25 to 65 in a basic index fund averaging a 7% return, you'd have roughly $1.4 million. $1.4 million. From car payments. I'm not saying don't own a car. I'm saying the car payment is costing you a retirement. Hifts to what monthly payment are you comfortable with? Recognize that moment for what it is. They're not trying to help you budget. They're trying to find the number that gets you to sign. Here's a concept that people sort of know about but don't really feel in their bones: depreciation. The moment you drive a new car off the lot, and I mean literally the moment the tires hit the public road for the first time, that car is worth less than what you paid for it. Usually somewhere between 10 and 20% less, immediately. In the first year, most new cars lose somewhere between 20 and 30% of their value. By year 5, many have lost 50 to 60%. So you've bought a $35,000 car. In year 1, it might be worth $26,000. You still owe close to $32,000. That gap, where you owe more than the car is worth, is called negative equity or being underwater, and it is a trap inside a trap because now if anything goes wrong, you lose your job, you get in an accident, you need to move. You can't just sell the car and walk away clean. You'll owe money even after you get rid of it. And there's this kind of dark irony to it all, right? You're making payments on something that is actively losing value while you're paying for it. It's not like a mortgage, where at least theoretically the asset is appreciating. A car is almost always a guaranteed loss. You are paying interest on something that is shrinking in value every single day it sits in your driveway. I want to be clear. I drive a car. I'm not here to tell you to ride a bicycle everywhere and live like a monk. Vehicles are necessary for most people. But there's a massive difference between understanding this and just sleepwalking into a $700 a month payment on a car you bought because the salesperson told you it was within your budget. This is the part I find the most fascinating, honestly. Because the car payment trap isn't just about math. It's about psychology. And specifically, it's about this very human, very understandable feeling of deserving nice things. There's this thing that happens when someone gets a raise or pays off a debt or just reaches a certain point in their life where they feel like they've been grinding long enough. And a new car becomes the symbol of that. It becomes evidence that you made it or that you're doing okay, that the hard work was worth it. I get it. I really do. The car sits in your driveway, and every morning when you walk past it, it tells you something about who you are, or at least who you're trying to be. But here's the uncomfortable question. Are you buying the car, or are you buying the feeling? And is that feeling, that particular flavor of validation, worth $600 a month for 6 years? What makes this so complicated is that a lot of the time, the car is actually bought for other people, for the neighbors who'll see it in the driveway, for the co-workers in the parking lot. For some imagined audience, that is, I promise you, not paying nearly as much attention to your car as you think they are. People are too busy worrying about their own stuff. There's a great line I heard once. I can't remember who said it. Something along the lines of, "We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like." And it's funny because it's true. And it's also a little bit devastating. The actionable thing here is just pause. Before any major financial decision, especially a car, ask yourself honestly, am I buying this because it genuinely improves my life, or because of how I want to feel or be perceived? Neither answer is automatically wrong, but knowing the real answer changes how you make the decision. Okay, so here's something that I think catches a lot of people off guard, and it's almost never part of the dealership conversation. When you finance a newer, more expensive car, your insurance goes up, sometimes significantly, because the lender requires comprehensive and collision coverage for the duration of the loan. And because the car is newer and worth more, those coverages cost more. So let's say your car payment is $533. Your insurance on a financed new car might be $180, $200, maybe more depending on your driving history and where you live. Add in gas, and if you're buying a truck or SUV, which a lot of people are, gas is a significant number. Add in registration fees, which on a newer, higher-value vehicle are often higher. Add routine maintenance. All of a sudden, that $533 a month car is actually a $900 a month car, maybe more. And that's assuming nothing goes wrong. That's assuming no unexpected repairs, no fender benders, no life getting in the way. The real number, the true cost of car ownership, is almost never what people think it is when they're sitting in the financing office. The monthly payment is just the headline. The actual story costs a lot more. This is why financial advisors often suggest that all car-related expenses, payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, should stay under 15 to 20% of your take-home pay. And most people, if they actually did this math, would realize they're way over that. Way over. All right, I want to share something that genuinely surprised me the first time I came across it, because it runs completely counter to the image we have of wealthy people. There's been a lot of research done, most famously in the book The Millionaire Next Door, on how genuinely wealthy people actually live versus how we imagine they live. And one of the most consistent findings across multiple studies is this: wealthy people, disproportionately, buy used cars, often with cash, not because they can't afford new cars, but because they think about money differently. They understand that a car is a tool, not a trophy. They're not interested in looking rich. They're interested in being rich, which are completely different things, and often in direct conflict with each other. The people most likely to be driving a brand new luxury vehicle on a long-term loan are often the people who can least afford it. Not always, but often. Because looking wealthy and being wealthy require very different financial behaviors. What the research also shows is that high earners who lack wealth, people with great salaries and nothing in savings, which is genuinely common, tend to have high lifestyle costs, big houses, new cars, expensive habits, and the car payment is almost always part of that picture. The practical takeaway here is this: if you want to build actual wealth over time, consider buying a reliable used car, ideally 2 to 3 years old, for cash or with a short, small loan. Let someone else eat the depreciation. Drive it for as long as it runs, and take what you save and put it somewhere that grows. It's not glamorous. It's not the car your Instagram would choose. But 10 years from now, it might be the best financial decision you ever made. So here's where I want to land after all of this. The car payment trap isn't about cars. Not really. It's about the way we've been taught to think about affordability, about status, about what we deserve, and how we demonstrate it to the world. It's about monthly payments that hide real costs, and depreciation that drains value silently, and an industry that is extraordinarily good at turning a $45,000 decision into something that feels like a minor lifestyle adjustment. And I want to be gentle here, because I'm not saying any of this to make anyone feel bad. If you're in a car payment right now, maybe even an uncomfortable one, you didn't do something shameful. You did something human. You responded to a system that was specifically built to produce exactly that outcome. The dealership didn't make a mistake. It worked perfectly. But here's the thing about understanding the system. Once you see it, you can't really unsee it. And that's actually a gift, even if it doesn't feel like one in the moment. Because the next time you're sitting across from that little piece of paper with a monthly payment on it, you'll know to ask different questions. You'll know to calculate the full cost. You'll know to think about what that money could become if it flowed somewhere else. The goal isn't to deprive yourself. The goal is to make sure your money is working for your future, not someone else's quarterly earnings report. Drive something reliable. Keep it longer than feels comfortable. Let the money you save do something extraordinary. It probably won't feel like a revolution. It'll just feel like a slightly boring car in your driveway. But 10 years from now, that boring car might be the most interesting financial decision you ever made. Take care of yourselves out there. And if this made you look at your driveway a little differently, that's exactly what it was supposed to do. Also, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next video.